The morning of my grandson's baby shower, my daughter-in-law looked me straight in the eye and said, "You know what would be the perfect gift for this baby? If you disappeared from our lives. Forever." Nathan doesn't need a grandmother who only brings negativity. I stood there in my son's kitchen, holding the hand-knitted baby blanket I'd spent 3 months making, feeling like someone had driven a knife through my chest. Nathan was my son, my only child, and the grandson I hadn't even met yet was apparently better off without me. "Excuse me?" I managed to whisper. Melissa smiled, that sweet smile she always wore in public. "Oh, don't act so surprised, Dorothy. Nathan told me how you've always been controlling, how you manipulated him his whole life. He agrees with me completely. We both think it's best if you just weren't part of this new chapter." I looked past her, desperately searching for Nathan in the living room, where he was setting up decorations for the shower, scheduled to start in 4 hours. "Nathan?" I called out. "Can we talk?" But Melissa moved to block my view. "He's busy, Dorothy. And honestly, he doesn't want to have this conversation again. It upsets him. You know how stressed he's been with the baby coming." My hands trembled. Nathan and I have always been close. I don't understand." "That's the problem," Melissa interrupted, her voice honey-sweet but her eyes cold. "You don't understand boundaries. You don't understand that Nathan has a real family now. Me and the baby. We're his priority, not you." She glanced at the blanket in my hands. "You can leave that on the table with the other gifts. We'll send you a thank you card. But after today, I think it's best if you give us space. A lot of space. Like, maybe don't contact us at all." I felt tears burning my eyes. 63 years old, and my daughter-in-law was dismissing me like I was nothing. Like the 31 years I'd spent raising Nathan alone after his father died meant nothing. "Does Nathan really feel this way?" I asked, my voice breaking. Melissa's smile widened. "Why don't you ask him yourself?" "Oh, wait, you can't. Because he specifically told me to handle this conversation. He knew you'd make it dramatic." I turned to leave, but something made me stop. The way she'd positioned herself, the way she kept me from seeing Nathan, the slight panic in her eyes when I'd tried to call out to him. "I'd like to hear it from Nathan," I said firmly. "Well, he doesn't want to talk to you right now. Goodbye, Dorothy." I left that house with the baby blanket still in my hands, tears streaming down my face. But by the time I reached my car, those tears had started to dry. And something else had taken their place: suspicion. I'd raised Nathan by myself since he was 7 years old. I knew my son. The Nathan I knew wouldn't cut off his mother without at least talking to her. The Nathan I knew would never send someone else to deliver news that devastating, unless he didn't know she was delivering it. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, just thinking. Then I did something I'd never done before. I called Nathan's cell phone, knowing Melissa had probably gone back inside. It rang 4 times before he answered, breathless. "Mom? Hey, are you on your way? The shower starts at 2. I almost dropped the phone. "Nathan, you want me at the shower?" "Of course I want you there. Why wouldn't I? You're my mom. You're going to be this baby's grandmother." He paused. "Are you okay? You sound weird. Melissa just told me you didn't want me in your lives anymore." The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, what? She said you both agreed it would be better if I disappeared, that I'm too negative, too controlling. Mom, I never said any of that. Ever. What the hell is she talking about? That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. We talked for another 5 minutes before Melissa's voice echoed in the background, calling for Nathan. He told me he had to go, but he'd call me back. He never did. Instead, 30 minutes later, I received a text from his number. "Sorry, Mom," Melissa explained the situation. "I think she's right. We need some space. Don't come to the shower." I stared at that text, and I knew Nathan hadn't written it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about little things I'd noticed over the past year since Nathan and Melissa got married. The way she always answered his phone when I called, the way she scheduled their visits during times she knew I had book club or volunteer work, the way Nathan had gradually stopped sharing things with me. I'd thought it was just normal newlywed adjustment. Now I wondered if it was something else entirely. The next morning, I did something I'd never imagined doing. I hired a private investigator. His name was Marcus Chen, a former police detective who came highly recommended by a friend. I felt ridiculous sitting in his office, explaining that I needed him to investigate my own daughter-in-law. "What exactly are you looking for?" he asked, taking notes. "I don't know," I admitted. "But something's wrong. My son wouldn't cut me out like this, and the way she's acting, it feels calculated." Marcus nodded. "In my experience, when someone tries to isolate a spouse from their family, there's usually a reason. Give me 2 weeks. If there's something to find, I'll find it." It took him 10 days. I was having coffee at my kitchen table when Marcus called. "Mrs. Richardson, can you come to my office this afternoon? I found some things you need to see." The drive over felt like it took hours instead of 20 minutes. When I walked into his office, Marcus had several folders spread across his desk. "I'm going to be direct with you," he said, gesturing for me to sit. "Your daughter-in-law is running a con." I felt my blood run cold. "What kind of con?" "The financial kind." He opened the first folder. "Melissa's real name is Melissa Porter. She's been married twice before. Both marriages ended the same way. She isolated her husband from his family, gained access to all his finances, and cleaned out the accounts before filing for divorce." He showed me documents, court records, bank statements from her previous husbands, both of whom had filed complaints that went nowhere because they couldn't prove she'd done anything illegal. She'd been smart about it: joint accounts, shared credit cards, all technically legal. "Husband number 1 lost his entire inheritance," Marcus continued. "Husband number 2 lost his business. Both men were completely cut off from their families by the time she was done. Both families tried to warn them. Neither man listened until it was too late." "Oh my God," I whispered. "Nathan's been saving for years. He has his father's life insurance money, his college fund savings." "Had," Marcus corrected gently. "She's already accessed most of it. She opened credit cards in his name. Took out a second mortgage on their house without him fully understanding what he was signing. As of last week, your son is approximately $200,000 in debt." The room spun. "How did she?" "She's good at what she does. Very good. She finds successful men with family money or inheritance. She studies them, becomes exactly what they're looking for. Then she marries them and systematically drains everything while isolating them from anyone who might notice." He pulled out more papers. "There's more. She's not actually pregnant." I stared at him. "What? The baby shower you were disinvited from? It's real. But there's no baby. She's wearing a pregnancy suit. I have photos from last week of her at a gym in the next town over. No baby bump in sight." He showed me the photos. Melissa, in workout clothes, completely flat-stomached, laughing with someone at a smoothie bar. Why would she fake a pregnancy? Sympathy. Control. It makes your son more protective of her, more willing to do whatever she asks to avoid stressing out the expectant mother. Plus, it's a great excuse for why they need more money, more space, more everything. I felt sick. "I have to tell Nathan." Marcus shook his head. "He won't believe you. Neither did the other families. Melissa is very skilled at playing the victim. If you confront her or him directly, she'll convince him you're trying to ruin his marriage. She'll probably escalate the isolation. Then what do I do?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. "The baby shower is tomorrow, right? How many people are attending?" She invited over 50 people. All their friends, his colleagues, our extended family. "Then that's your opportunity. Not to confront her. To expose her, in front of everyone. With evidence she can't talk her way around." We spent the next 6 hours planning. The morning of the baby shower, I arrived at Nathan's house exactly on time, carrying my gift. Melissa opened the door, her fake belly prominently displayed under a flowing pink dress. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Dorothy, I thought we discussed this. Nathan texted me this morning and said he wanted me here." I lied smoothly. I'd actually texted him from a number he wouldn't recognize, pretending to be the caterer with a question, and when he answered, I'd sent a follow-up saying his mother would love to attend if he still wanted her there. He'd responded immediately. "Of course I want my mom there. Tell her to please come." I'd screenshotted that conversation. Melissa's jaw tightened, but she couldn't very well turn me away at the door with neighbors watching. "Fine, but please don't make a scene." "I wouldn't dream of it," I said sweetly. The house was beautifully decorated in soft yellows and greens, gender neutral for the baby they supposedly didn't know the sex of yet. Guests were already arriving, filling the living room with chatter and laughter. Nathan hugged me when he saw me, and I held onto my son a little longer than usual. "I'm so glad you're here, Mom," he whispered. "I'm sorry about the confusion yesterday." "It's okay, sweetheart," I said, blinking back tears. "Everything's going to be okay." Melissa had planned games and activities, all centered around the upcoming baby. I participated politely, watching the clock. Marcus had everything timed perfectly. At 3 o'clock, Melissa announced it was time for the gift opening. Everyone gathered in the living room as Nathan and Melissa sat in the center, surrounded by wrapped presents. "Actually," I spoke up, "before we do that, I put together a little video presentation. A surprise for Nathan and Melissa. I thought everyone might enjoy seeing it on the TV." Melissa's eyes narrowed, but Nathan lit up. "Mom, you made a video? That's so sweet." Before Melissa could object, Nathan's best friend James had already hooked up my laptop to their TV. The room settled down, all eyes on the screen. The video started innocently enough. Photos of Nathan as a baby, as a child, growing up. I narrated over them, talking about what a joy he'd been to raise, how proud I was of the man he'd become. People smiled, and I saw Melissa relax slightly. Then the tone shifted. "When you become a parent," my recorded voice continued, "your biggest fear is that someone might hurt your child, that someone might lie to them, manipulate them, take advantage of their trust." Nathan's smile started to fade. Melissa sat up straighter. The next slide appeared. It was a marriage certificate, Melissa's first marriage. So when I learned that my future daughter-in-law had been married before, I thought it was wonderful that she'd found love again. Melissa's face went pale. But then I learned she'd been married twice before, and I started to wonder why she'd never mentioned it. The room had gone completely silent. Nathan was staring at the screen, confusion written all over his face. The video continued. Court documents appeared, bank statements, testimony from Melissa's first husband about how she'd isolated him from his family and stolen his inheritance. Similar testimony from the second husband. "Wait," Nathan said, his voice barely audible. "Melissa, you were married twice before?" She stood up, her hand protectively over her fake belly. "Nathan, I can explain. Your mother is clearly trying to sabotage our marriage. Please hold all questions until the end," I said calmly. The video kept playing. Financial records showing the recent activity on Nathan's accounts. The second mortgage, the credit cards. Marcus had documented everything. Then came the gym photos. "Melissa, no baby bump, dated from 3 days ago." Someone in the room gasped. Nathan stood up slowly, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Melissa, are you actually pregnant?" Melissa backed toward the door. "Of course I am. Nathan, you can't believe this. Your mother has always hated me. She's making all of this up." "The documents are real," I said quietly. "All of it is verified and public record. The marriages, the lawsuits, the financial fraud. I have copies for everyone who wants them." Nathan's voice was shaking. "Show me your stomach." "What?" "If you're really pregnant, show me your stomach. Right now." Melissa's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape route. "I'm not going to humiliate myself, because your crazy mother." Nathan stepped closer. "You said you had an ultrasound last week? Show me the pictures." "They're private. We're supposed to be having a baby in 6 weeks, Melissa. Show me one shred of proof that you're actually pregnant." She ran. She literally turned and ran for the door, but James and 2 other guests were blocking it. Someone had already called the police. Nathan stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by baby gifts for a child that didn't exist, looking completely shattered. I went to him, and he collapsed into my arms like he used to when he was a little boy and had scraped his knee. "I'm so sorry, baby," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." The police arrived within minutes. Marcus had already provided them with evidence of the financial fraud. Melissa was arrested right there in Nathan's living room, still wearing her fake pregnancy belly. The aftermath was brutal. Nathan fell apart for weeks. The debt was overwhelming. The betrayal was worse. He kept saying he should have seen it, should have known, should have listened when I tried to reach out. I reminded him that Melissa was a professional, that this was what she did, that he wasn't stupid, he was trusting, and that wasn't a flaw, We spent the next 3 months working with lawyers and financial advisors, trying to untangle the mess Melissa had created. The district attorney was very interested in her case, especially when 2 of her previous victims came forward. Apparently, I wasn't the first mother who'd tried to save her child. Nathan moved back home with me during this time. We'd spend evenings on the porch, talking about everything and nothing. Slowly, he started to heal. 6 months after the baby shower, the trial concluded. Melissa was sentenced to 8 years for fraud, identity theft, and other charges. Nathan was able to recover about 60% of what she'd stolen. But something else happened during those months. Nathan and I started volunteering at a local organization that helped people recover from financial abuse. We shared our story, hoping it might help someone else recognize the warning signs. One night, about a year after everything happened, Nathan and I were having dinner when he said, "Mom, I never thanked you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For fighting for me even when I'd pushed you away. For loving me enough to risk our relationship to save me." I reached across the table and took his hand. "That's what mothers do, sweetheart. We protect our children, always." He smiled, and for the first time in a year, it reached his eyes. "I'm going to be more careful next time. When I'm ready to date again. I'm going to pay attention to red flags, and I'm definitely going to introduce her to you early on. I'll try not to hire a private investigator right away," I joked. "No, please do," he laughed. "Apparently, you're better at vetting people than I am." 2 years later, Nathan did start dating again. Her name was Rebecca, and she was wonderful. Patient with Nathan's trust issues, understanding about his past, and when I mentioned having a friend look into her background, she actually thought it was smart and gave me permission. Rebecca came back clean. Better than clean, she was genuine, kind, and she had her own thriving career. She didn't need Nathan's money. She just wanted Nathan. They got married last spring in a small ceremony at my house. Real ceremony, real bride, real love. And when they announced last month that they're expecting a baby, a real baby, verified by multiple ultrasounds that Rebecca cheerfully shares with anyone who asks, I cried happy tears for the first time in years. I'm going to be a grandmother. For real this time. I've already started knitting a new blanket. This one's going to be even better than the first. Because sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone isn't disappearing from their life. Sometimes it's refusing to disappear, even when it would be easier. Sometimes it's fighting for them when they can't fight for themselves. Melissa wanted me gone because she knew I was a threat. She knew a mother's love would see through her lies eventually. She was right. And because I refused to disappear, my son has a real future now. A real family. Real happiness. That baby shower might have been fake, but the victory was real. The justice was real. And the next baby shower I attend? That's going to be real too. I can't wait.